These are the 3 chip strategies that are clear of the rest. Welcome to the Gianni YouTube show. Hope you guys are well. It's time to start thinking about locking in a chip strategy, and after this week's FA Cup games, I'm sure we'll be deciding on strategy 1, 2 or 3 that I'm about to show you. But going into those games, I think it's really good to get a kind of helicopter view of what is going on and what ideas we might have for our transfers, because these are decisions that can't be taken like that. The ones we probably need to mull on for a few days. So let's start thinking about those 3 strategies. And when I made a video on chip strategies a few weeks ago, there was one I liked that was clear in a way, and then there was another one I didn't mind. There was only 2 that I really spoke about. Well, now there's 3 good options. Things have changed, right? So with those 3 options, I'm going to give you top line what they are. But before we do, let's just have a quick look at the fixture ticker. This is by far and away the favourite ticker I have seen so far this season. And it's been made by the guys at Planet FPL with a collaboration between them and FPL Team. Check out both those resources. FPL Team is amazing for planning for future weeks, and the guys at Planet FPL are really good predictors. So shout out to them. This is my favourite ticker I've seen. Now, this is only based on projections. So what we can see, the first double game week of 28, that's locked in. We know who doubles, right? Bournemouth and Luton, great, that's in there. Game week 29, this is projections based on the FA Cup results that we're going to know very shortly. So this has the blanks that we know happen, teams out the FA Cup, but it also gives a fixture to Luton and Forest. All the other ones, it's saying no major upsets. Of course, major upsets will add fixtures into 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, all normal game weeks. And then 34, we think there'll be a few doubles, maybe like 4 doubles, right? And then 37, the biggest double game week of the season, could see a fair few doubles. It will be the biggest double game week of the season. You could see like 6, 7 doubles, right? So with that in mind, how do we feel about the 3 strategies? So before we go into detail of all 3, should I give you top line of what I think these strategies are? And I'll give you the percentage chance that I think I'm going to use that strategy, okay? We'll do that at the end of the show. But if you fancy hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel nice and early, that'd be awesome. Thank you guys for hitting that subscribe button today. So guys, to show the 3 strategies, I did a poll on Twitter to get a bit of a vibe from the community. And look, so far, it looks like 2 strategies are clear in a way, but strategy 1 is to wildcard now, and about 10-11% of managers are looking at that. So if we're wildcarding in 27-28, free hit 34, and then bench boost 37. Strategy number 2, again, really popular, 30%, like one in every 3 teams are looking at free hitting in that blank in 29, wildcarding in 35, and bench boosting in 37. Bench boost 37 is a common theme. And then actually the most common strategy still is the one that I was a real big fan of a couple of weeks back, and that is to dead end in the blank 29, even if that means a few players, 7 or 8 players. You wildcard in 30, 31, you free hit in 34, and you bench boost in 37. I am going off that one a little bit. And then 15% are looking at a different strategy altogether because they've probably already used a chip. So let's take strategy 1, 2, and 3 and look at the positives and negatives, shall we? Well, first and foremost, strategy 1 is a wildcard now. Wildcard now, I've played around with it. This video, I was thinking about doing a wildcard video, and then I thought, no, I don't really want to be plugging that. I don't really want to be encouraging people to pull the trigger now. Sure, it's team dependent, but when I did a wildcard draft last night, it was full of players that I was covering for game week 29. Because obviously game week 29, a lot of the poor teams play. So I was like, oh, I'm not so sure about that one. I mean, things could change based on the FA Cup. But for now, I'm not so sure that if you wildcard in 27-28, are you going double or triple Bournemouth? Are you going double, triple Spurs? Are you going triple Villa? Do you really want to go that big on good teams but not elite teams? Also, the wildcard, the template at the moment going into game week 27 and 28, like my team, for example, which is pretty template, it's got loads of good, but the tickers, the fixtures are really good for my team. I should get a good green arrow in 27. And I'd be selling loads of those players with good fixtures just for ones that I know have doubles or don't blank. So strategy 1, I don't love, but I get it. It covers you. It means you're well prepared for game week 28. It means you're not free hitting in 29, and then you can still free hit in 34 and bench boost in 37. So strategy 1 will get some love by those getting a little bit twitchy on their current team. And if their team's full of flags or whatever, I get it. But for the time being, the template team does not need to wildcard, in my opinion. So that's strategy 1. Now we're on to strategy 2, which before I wasn't really a fan of, but the more and more I think about it, the more I'm coming round to the idea of using it. And actually, I'll give you my percentage chances of using each chip strategy at the end of the show. But this one is something I wanted to avoid originally, which was a free hit in 29. Because 29 is the biggest blank of the season. I've always said I like to free hit, ideally in the doubles, and I want a free hit when I can get a bigger upside. And in game week 29, I don't see there to be a big upside because yes, Villa and Spurs and Brentford will play, but I'll make sure I own Son and Watkins and Toney, and I'll cover all the main bases, even if I only have, 7 players playing, right? It allows, not only does it allow 11 players out, the free hit 29, but it also means if you free hit in 29, you can save your wild card. If you're not free hitting in 29, you're probably dead ending. We'll talk about that in strategy 3, and you'll need your wildcard straight away. If you can save your wildcard to game week 35, you can then take that same dead end strategy, which we're looking at originally doing into 29, you can now dead end into 34. And when we look at the 34 projected doubles, yes, there might be teams like Palace and Everton doubling, but we could also get an Arsenal double. We also look at some of the popular teams and their single game week fixture and go, maybe that's a week to take out Man City as they go to Brighton. Tough place to go. Maybe it's a week when we look at, Spurs Newcastle. Spurs going to Newcastle. At the moment, that looks like a good fixture. Maybe we look at Liverpool going to Everton in the derby and go, oh, okay, we can take out those players. So actually, it might be a week that we can go a little bit rogue on dead ending. And go, I'm going to sell those players in 33 or 34, and then I'm going to buy them back if I need to in 35. So dead ending into 34 can still work. Obviously, free hit 34 should get slightly more points, but I don't think there's a massive swing there between free hit 34 and dead end 34, knowing we're going to have free transfers getting to that point, right? Also, if we're free hitting in 29, I should add, it also allows you to concentrate on players now. Like we all bought Hwang this week because we thought Hwang was going to go get big points, even though we weren't sure about him playing in game week 29. We were like, we need to get points now. So if you commit to a free hit 29, then it allows you to really chase who you think will get current points next game week and the game week after, rather than just buying players that cover you for a blank, right? The negative of wildcarding 35 is you only get that new shiny team for a few weeks, but knowing you're bench boosting in 37, having the wildcard and bench boost so close together, I think is really favourable. It also means you can then not waste too many weeks with good benches. Because I'm going to say we all want a good bench, but we don't want money on our bench. So this allows us to keep a thin bench until 35 when we wildcard. And then look, for the final few weeks of the season, you go, I'm bench boosting, I've got to put a bit more money in my bench. Fine. But you can shift those funds around better on a wildcard. So look, that strategy 2, I do really like, and it does feel like the FPL community on Twitter, around a third are looking at that strategy already, okay? And I think if I'd done this poll 2 weeks ago, it would have been about 10%. Definitely more and more are coming around to strategy 2. Strategy 3 is all about the original template strategy. It was to dead end in 29. And yes, that means 6, 7, 8 players, not 11. But then off the back of that, your wild card in 30 or 31. In 30, I think Arsenal, City play each other, so you might want to wait a week. And then you free hit in 34, which we've discussed. 34 is a big double, 4 double game weeks probably, 4 teams, 4 extra fixtures. But I don't know how much I love that, knowing I could dead end and get similar results. And then again, it's bench boost 37. Wildcard would be 30, 31. Bench boost would be 37. So we're preparing. The wildcard and bench boost are really nice in harmony together. They're really nice. Not just because you're picking players that you know are fit, you know that they're in form, you know that they're not likely to be suspended. But also it's the way of shifting money around. If you wildcard and bench boost so close together, it's what I said earlier about not leaving too many funds on your bench. Like if I'm wildcarding in 30, 31 and no, I'm bench boosting 37, I'm probably not going to have players like Taylor or Bell on my wildcard, like 3.8, 3.9 defenders, I'm probably going to need those defenders to be 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, like better options, right? Which means spending more money. Yet if I wildcard in 35 ahead of a bench boost in 37, I might go, oh, I can go Taylor because he's actually got a double in 37 and I don't need him in any of the other weeks. You know what I mean? It's nice when they're closer together. I still do like that strategy. And if I take a step back and look at the three strategies, do I think there's a clear favourite now? I think there's two. Before we look at them in detail, I want to go through who could double in 37. So when we look at the 37 projected doubles, because this is the week we're bench boosting and potentially the really big week, and will it be better to wildcard closer to that? Bournemouth and Brighton and Chelsea, yeah, Fulham and Liverpool, City, United, Newcastle. It could be absolutely huge, right? Spurs, Wolves could have a double of Crystal Palace and Bournemouth at home. Like, we're talking about 15 players playing twice. We're talking about the difference between winning your mini leagues and not. That game week 37 points, that could be a 180 point week. I remember bench boosting, was it last season, where it was like average score was like close to 200, like for those that bench boosted. Like, you're getting 30 performers out and you want, I think, your wildcard as close to that as possible in an ideal world. So yes, let's go back to that Twitter poll, shall we? When we look at these splits, the common strategy is strategy 3, but not far behind that is strategy 2. I would say I'm thinking pretty similar to the community. I would say I am 40% likely to use strategy 3. I'm 40% likely to use strategy 2, and I'm 20% likely to use strategy 1. Now, this could all change after the FA Cup, and if we get some major upsets, I think strategy 3 becomes probably more like 50-60% for me, and I'll probably commit to it. Actually, it could become 100% to me, because if we get upsets, there won't be a need to free hit in 29. If we don't get the upsets, however, and we're faced with 7 players in 29 without taking major hits, I think strategy 2 for me becomes the most popular. And I probably go, instead of 40-40-20, I probably go 60% strategy 2, 30% strategy 3, 10% strategy 1. But guys, don't commit to a strategy yet, and by Thursday I think it's time we do commit. This video I purposely wanted to bring out a few days ahead of the FA Cup so we can really start to think about the different options, so we know based on certain results what direction we're going to go in. So I know in my head at the moment I'm split on strategy 2 and strategy 3, but if there's major FA Cup upsets, there's going to be more fixtures in that blank game week 29. If there's more fixtures in 29, we don't need to free hit. So strategy 3 becomes the option I follow, right? I go, there's loads of fixtures now in 29 or more. I don't need to free hit. I'm still going to dead end, and then I'm going to wildcard out the back of it, and then I'm going to go free hit 34, bench boost 37. If there's no upsets though, or very few upsets, and we look at 6 players playing in our teams in 2029, I'm probably going to go, look, it's a low upside free hit, but it gets me 11 out. I get the optimal 11 that week. I still get to, so I'm going to go strategy 2, free hit in 29. I still get to dead end my team to 34, which I like the idea of doing. I wildcard in 35, bench boost in 7, which again has that harmony between wildcard and bench boost. So look, there's positives of both. I actually really can't see myself going down strategy 1. I think there's like, I said 20%, maybe it's lower. It's probably more like 10% chance I do that. So at the moment, I'm pretty split, right? I'm probably 45% on strategy 2 and 3, 10% on strategy 1. Strategy 2 and 3 will change based on FA Cup scenarios, which are really interesting. Guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have. And again, shout out to Planet FPL and FPL Team for their amazing ticker. Did enjoy using that in today's show. My team selection video is out very soon. Keep your eyes peeled on that. And I'll see you very soon.